Hi, boys and girls. This is day 3 of Miss Hudson Peck's Read Aloud. This is the last chapter of our book, the BFG. It is called The Author. Every country in the world that had in the past been visited by the foul man-eating giant sent telegrams of congratulations and thanks to the BFG and to Sophie. Kings and presidents and prime ministers and rulers of every kind showered the enormous giant and the little girl with compliments and thank yous, as well as all sorts of medals and presents. The ruler of India sent the BFG a magnificent elephant, the very thing he had been wishing for all his life. The king of Arabia sent them a camel each. The Lama of Tibet sent them a llama each. Wellington sent them 100 pairs of wellies each. Panama sent them beautiful hats. The king of Sweden sent them a barrel full of sweet and sour pork. Jersey sent them pullovers. There was no end to the gratitude of the world. The queen herself gave orders that a special house with tremendous high ceilings and enormous doors should immediately be built in Windsor Great Park, next to her own castle, for the BFG to live in, and a pretty little cottage was put up next door for Sophie. The BFG's house was to have a special dream storing room with hundreds of shelves in it where he could put his beloved bottles. What's more, he was given the title of the Royal Dream Blower. He was allowed to go galloping off to any place in England on any night of the year to blow his wizards in through the windows of sleeping children, and letters poured into the house by the million from children begging him to pay them a visit. Meanwhile, tourists from all over the globe came flocking to gaze down and wonder at the 9 horrendous man-eating giants in the great pit. They came especially at feeding time, when the snozcumbers were being thrown down to them by the keeper, and it was a pleasure to listen to the howls and growls of horror coming up from the pit as the giants began to chew on the filthiest tasting vegetable on earth. There was only one disaster. 3 silly men who had had too much to drink at lunch decided to come over the fence surrounding the pit, and of course, they fell in. There were yells of delight from the giants below, followed by crunching of bones, and then the head keeper immediately put up a big notice by the fence, saying, "It is forbidden to feed the giants," and after that, there were no more disasters. The BFG expressed a wish to learn how to speak properly, and Sophie herself, who loved him as she would a father, volunteered to give him lessons every day. She even taught him how to spell and to write sentences, and he turned out to be a splendid, intelligent pupil. In his spare time, he read books. He became a tremendous reader. He read all the Charles Dickens, whom he no longer called Doll's Chickens, and all of the Shakespeare and literally thousands of other books. He also started to write essays about his own past life. When Sophie read some of them, he said, "These are very good. I think perhaps one day you could become a real writer." "Oh, I would love that," said the BFG. "Do you think I could?" "I know you could," Sophie said. "Why don't you start by writing a book about you and me?" "Very well," said the BFG. "I'll give it a try." So he did. He worked hard on it, and then in the end he completed it. Rather shyly, he showed it to the queen, and the queen read it out loud to her grandchildren. Then the queen said, "I think we ought to get this book printed properly and published so that the other children can read it." This was arranged, but because the BFG was a very modest giant, he wouldn't put his own name on it. He used somebody else's name instead. But where, you might ask, is the book that the BFG wrote? It's right here. You've just finished reading it. So that is the end of the BFG. At the back of this book, there's a section that says, "Let's see how much you remember." So I typed those up and we'll see how much we remember. Here's our first question. When does Sophie first see the BFG? A, at noon, B, during the witching hour, or C, while she's dreaming? The answer is B. during the witching hour. That means it's late at night. The next question is, what does BFG stand for? A, big fierce giant, B, big fantastic giant, or C, big friendly giant? The answer is C, big friendly giant. Where does the BFG put the dreams he catches? A, in jars, B, under his pillow, or C, in his pocket? The answer is A, in jars, and those jars go in his cave on the shelves. What is the name of the drink that the BFG gives Sophie? A, Frobscottle, B, Whiz Popping Juice, or C, Snoz Cumber Cola? And the answer is A, Frobscottle. And here's the last one that I thought was pretty tricky, and the answer is already showing. Who runs the orphanage where Sophie lives? Mrs. Cole, Mrs. Clunkers, or Mrs. Clangers? And the answer is B. I hope you enjoyed the story as much as I did. There's so many other books by Roald Dahl, and I hope you find some that you might get interested in reading. The one that I usually read after this is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. If you get a chance to read the book, it's wonderful. I hope you enjoyed this one.